Hi guys! Today is the time for us to discover how English literature goes by every period. Did you know that English literature started to emerge in the 8th century with the Germanic tradition of Anglo-Saxon settlers, with Beowulf as one of the most popular of its time, including The Wanderer, The Seafarer, and more. This epic poem of the 8th century is in Anglo-Saxon and more usually described as the Old English. In the Middle Period, most of their writings were religious in nature. Some of the works include Piers Plowman by William Langland and Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. However, in 1350s onwards, secular literature began to emerge. Next with this is the neoclassical, wherein the Restoration comedies has been developed, under the talent of playwrights like John Dryden and William Congreve. Some of their works are The Rival Ladies in 1664 and The Old Bachelor in 1693. Having said that, the English literature has Romantic period in 1800s. That includes notable figures as Wordsworth, Coleridge, Lord Byron, Jane Austen, and Mary Shelley. While the Victorian period in 1937 to 1901, the Reform Bill was passed which expanded in voting rights. This period is in strong contention with the Romantic period for being the most popular and influential period in all English literature. Robert Browning and Alfred Tennyson were notable poets in Victorian England who wrote Pauline, A Fragment of Confession, and Memoriam, AHHH. They also have Edwardian period that covers the period between Victoria's death in Victorian period, and also the outbreak of World War I. This short era includes classic novelists such as Joseph Conrad, who wrote The Nigger and of the Narcissus, Rudyard Kipling, Rikki Tikki Tavi, and Henry James, Guy Domby. And lastly, the modern period. This applies to the works that were written after the start of World War I. The new criticism also emerged at this time, led by the likes of Woolf, Eliot, William Empson, and others, which reinvigorated literary criticism in general. Maybe you're already asking, what is the significance of the country's literature to our own community and the world? Well, let me tell you this. The literature allows the person to step back in time and learn about life on earth from the ones who walked before us. We can gather a better understanding of culture and have a greater appreciation of them. We learn through the ways history is recorded, in the forms of manuscripts and through speech itself. Literature is a reflection of humanity and a way for us to understand each other. By listening to the voice of another person, we can begin to figure out how the individuals think. Do you even think of the reason behind those similarities and differences? Well, let me say this to you. The reason behind the similarities and differences of this is that if there would be any similarities on the said literatures, it would be because of colonization.
Since we're already aware in English Lit, the next thing we're going to discover is the history, characteristics, and some of those notable writers in the Philippine literature. During pre-colonial period, it is based on oral traditions and crude of ideology and of parasiology. The literary form most of the time is oral literature. In this area, they also started to making some folk tales, myths, legends, and fables, fantasy stories, and epics. The proverb, Tanaga, folk song, sambahan, mangyan are one of those examples in this era. The next thing inclined is the Spanish colonization period. This has two distinct classifications, the religious and the secular. Spanish is introduced as the medium of the communication. In religious literature, we have a religious lyrics that written by the Landino poet that has been included in early catechism that were used to teach by Filipino. Passion, a long narrative poem about the passion and death of Christ. Sinaculo, dramatization of passion, and many more. While in the secular, there are non-religious literature. We have awit, a colorful tales of chivalry made for singing and chanting. The example for this are Ibong Adarna, Corrido, a metrical tale written by octosyllabic and quatrains. Example, Florante at Laura by Francisco Baltasar, and many more. After the Spanish colonization period, the nationalistic propaganda and revolutionary period came. They planted seeds of nationalism of Filipino. This is the time where this language was shifted from Spanish to Tagalog. Propaganda literature, a reformatory in objective. Political essay used to attack and expose the evil of Spanish rule. The jarring Tagalog that was founded by Marcelo del Pilar, de la Solidaridad, a political novels of our famous Dr. Jose Rizal, the No Limitangre, and El Filibusterismo, a revolutionary literature, and others. The next era is the American colonial period. The Filipino writers imitated the English and American models. The poems are written amateurism machi, which phrasing and dictions are awkward and artificial. Short stories like Dead Star by Marquez Benitez and many more are the examples of it. While in 1920, the period of emergence is highly influenced by Western literacy, trends like Romanticism and Realism. Short stories is most prevalent literary form. After American, we have Japanese colonial period. Warriors in 1943 wherein Tagalog poet broke away from Balagtas tradition and instead wrote in a simple language and free verse. The fiction prevailed over poetry. The 25 pinakamabuting maikling kathang Pilipino is a compilation of short story contests by military government. The period of maturity and originality in 1960 is bountiful harvest of poetry, fiction, drama, and essays. All the Filipino writers mastered English and familiarized themselves with diverse techniques. Literary giants appeared. The Palanca Award for Literature were Jose Garcia Joaquin and Nick Joaquin are also appeared. Lastly is the contemporary modern period. The martial law represents cruelty, the human rights, including the freedom of the press. This is the reason why writers use symbolism and allegories to drive home their message. At the face of heavy censorship, theaters were used as the vehicle for protests such as PITA, Philippine Education Literature Association, and UP Theater. So what is the similarities and difference when it comes to the themes and approach? The similarities of the two is that they both reveal the strong impact of the historical difference in the role of English and its literature in the respective countries. With the American colonization, the English language is used in both literature, while the difference in Philippine literatures are mostly in the traditional themes and approach with the learned techniques in American colonization, while English literature is also have many varieties regarding to themes and approach. That is all for this video. We hope that you learned something about English and Philippine literature. Thank you for staying tuned and have a great day, everyone.